Good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Monday, May 6th, 2024. Join me in getting a drink. Don't worry, you don't need a drink for today, though. It's a good day. Today's Monday, May 6th, 2024. This is your daily mortgage rate update. Thank you for joining me. Remember, you can join me live on Facebook and YouTube each and every weekday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're here this morning, like Mike Debo, say good morning. And Mallory Fotiatis, good to see you as well. If you are watching on the replay, don't forget to give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Appreciate you doing that. Don't forget to smash that like button, tag an LO friend or share us in the group on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and click that little thumbs up thing that you like the video, subscribe. You can go through and look for the notification bell to be reminded that I'm going live each morning as well. Also, if you'd like to get a free email to your inbox each and every weekday morning, www.ratelockedvice.com. If you'd like our text alerts, www.ratetextalerts.com. If you'd like a reminder that I'm going live, you can get that at hmmr.io/reminder. And last but not least, go check us out at originatorssuccess.com and find out how we can help you to get some more loans. It's time to get busy. We'll help you do it. All right, let's go ahead and say hi to the live folks. Who do we got here this morning? Say good morning. Also, I got a question of the day for you. This one's a real deep thought one. You're going to have to really work hard on this one. The question of the day is, would you rather be chased by a zombie or by a lion? Hey, don't get mad at me. I was working with what I got. I pulled this one real quick off the internet and it caught my attention. I thought it was kind of funny. Would you rather be chased by a zombie or a lion? Believe it or not, I'm going zombie. They move a hell of a lot slower. Being chased by a lion, not really that good. Not that good. Your chances, not that good. Lions are badass, especially the female lions who do the hunting for the pride. Don't piss off those ladies. Yep, I'm going with the zombie. Allison Foy also would go with the zombies. What about you, Mike? You let me know. Yasmin Martin, what about you? Kayla, what would you be doing, Kayla? Tim, Kyla, also zombies. Yasmin, she's taking the zombies. We can outrun. We're all thinking, right? Allison and those claws. Yeah, exactly. Lions, not messing around with the lions. Cats scare me. My little house cat, right? Little Millie, little black house cat. She was a little feral that adopted us a few months back, and she goes outside now every day. She comes in with chipmunks and birds and mole. This cat can hunt. A lion is just a bigger version of Millie. I ain't messing with no lion. So I'm going zombie. All right. But you know what's not zombie? The market today. All right. Mortgage-backed securities up 4 basis points to start the day. What does that mean for you? Basically, it means pricing is going to be very similar to what we saw on Friday. Now, Friday, we had seen 3 big days of gains. See these green candlesticks? 1, 2, 3, like rocket ships taking off, bringing our mortgage rates to better levels, not taking them higher, but improving mortgage rates. But Friday, we saw a lot of lenders that were holding back a little bit on price gains. Why? Well, a couple reasons. Number one, they were worried about float downs and the fact that they had a lot of locks that were, that had come in and seen things move. Second reason was nobody really trusted that the gains would hold through the day. Now, on Friday, we did see those gains hold through the day after peaking, right? So you can see this candlestick. I'm going to zoom in. We'll just do let's do 5 day here. Now let's do one month so you can see. Okay, so when you look here, this is the candlestick for Friday. Now, the way these candlesticks work is the highest part of the line is how high bonds went to. The lowest part, when you have what we call a tail, is how low they were down. The body is the thick part. And that's how they started the day and ended the day. If it's a green body like this, it means it started lower and improved and ended higher. If it's a red body like this one down here, it means it started higher, ended the day lower. So when we look at this candlestick from Friday, what we see is that mortgage bonds pushed all the way up here. They broke past that moving average, the 50-day moving average, this red line, but they couldn't hold and it fell back down. And that's normal. That's a normal sign of that volatile trading when you get that kind of news. Right here on the 48-hour chart, you could see that same behavior. We saw almost a straight line. Look at this reaction right here at 8:30 to that jobs data. Mortgage-backed securities were down around 99.90. They pushed all the way up and they peaked at 100.33 before kind of settling in around 100.20. And that's where we were when pricing came out on Friday. Today, we're at 100.13. And if we do 10 a.m., it was 100.16, right? So we're very close to where we were when pricing came out on Friday, which means you should see similar pricing. But again, you may see actually slightly better pricing today because mortgage-backed securities doing as well, but lenders a little bit more comfortable passing along those gains today. All right. So Carmen said, can I please elaborate more on what a candlestick is? I think I did. I don't know if I explained that. I hadn't seen that comment, Carmen. If you still need me to go deeper on it, let me know. But a candlestick represents one day in the market, and you can see the movement of trading within that day. What we're doing is looking for the trends where we see the improvements and the worsenings and stuff. So, but I think that basically explained for you. Let me make this full page. So going on here, 10-year treasury yield, 4.5. This is fantastic to see. Remember that we were pushing up here 4.699. That's 4.70. Okay. That's a 20 basis point move lower on 10-year yield. Each one of those little segments is a basis point. All right. And when we dropped back down, it's funny, Carmen, I actually did that without reading your comment. That's why I'd asked you that. So when we dropped back down last week, you can see big drop down in 10-year treasury yield. And that is going to bode well for mortgage rates and pricing. When the yield drops, what that does is it puts less pressure on mortgage-backed securities, and we can see mortgage rates improve. Now, let's talk a little bit about, again, why did we see mortgage rates improve? And it all started last Wednesday with the Fed meeting. Now, we floated into the Fed meeting, at least I was advising to float, even though we talked a lot about locking loans before that meeting, because there was a lot of talk that the Fed would maybe start talking about hiking rates. In fact, at the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's press conference following the Fed statement, that question was asked. I think we counted 4 times, Ron Siegel, that it was asked 4 times that the Fed when they would start hiking rates, or when they would start thinking about hiking rates, or the word hike being used in there, because concern that we're not seeing inflation continue to progress, continue to go down to the Fed's target of 2%. And we're seeing a strong economy, strong labor data. So even though I didn't think we were going to get very good news on Wednesday, we talked about floating into it because the Fed meeting happens at the middle of the afternoon, one of the rare times that we can actually float in and react before we see reprices. Now, going into Friday's jobs data, we talked about locking anything that was risk averse, closing near term, because we don't know how these reports are going to come out. And we can't be results oriented. We have to play the odds. And if that jobs data on Friday did not give us a miss, we really were at risk of seeing rates push higher, and it made sense to lock some loans heading into that, but not all of them. We talked about floating anything that was closing in 15 to 30 or 30 plus days because we had some time to see things settle in. And the good news is that the jobs data on Friday was, again, it was a big miss. We talked about it on Friday. It was the lowest number in 6 months. It was 175,000 jobs, I think, created when the expectation was 240,000. March had seen 300,000. So we finally started to see weakness in the labor market. Here's some good things here. Let me pop this up on my side and we'll go over this with you. So taking a look at what happened last week when we got that reaction to the Fed meeting and to that data. All right. That helped Fed futures and the expectation of Fed rate cuts to improve. Before the Fed meeting, before that jobs data, the expectation of the Fed to cut rates this year was down to 1 rate cut in December. They actually say 1.5. You can't do a half a rate cut. That's kind of a weird thing, right? You can't do a half a rate cut, but they were talking about a 1.5 rate cut just because the way that was. Now that's pushed back all the way into 2%. Take a look here. We're currently at 5.25 right now. 37% expectation that we will see at least 2 rate cuts. Only about 0.25% believe we'll see 1. 3/4 believe we're going to see more than that. So that's really everything that we were looking into. Randy said he locked everything Tuesday evening. Randy, and again, we can't be necessarily too results oriented. But the heading into the Fed meeting, I was floating because you have a better chance to react. But we did talk about, remember, on heading into the Fed meeting, we talked about locking anything closing near term because of the JOLTS data, the ADP data. That actually came in our way too. That could have been a lot worse for us. So that's all of that behind us. This week, there is nothing on the economic calendar this week, y'all. It is just a dead week. You'll have a lot of Fed speakers out there that are, shaking their lips, but nothing that we really have to worry about. Actually, this view sucks, but I'll just tell you, there is really, we're going to have the Treasury auctions. That's what we'll be looking at. Those happen in the afternoon. Going to see if there's an appetite from markets for the longer term yields. That will give us an idea of kind of if markets believe that those yields are going to drop. If there is a desire for those yields, that's going to help things. We shouldn't see rates move much this week. It should be a pretty calm week. We're going to see some small day-to-day movements, probably see a little bit of pullback. That's generally going to happen after we have such a strong week like we did last week. Mortgage rates improved. How much did you see rates improve last week? Generally, I'm going to say that they probably should have improved about 0.25% on most rate sheets. Not much more than that, about 0.25% on most rate sheets, which, let's face it, that's a nice move lower on the week. And that brings us back to some of the best levels that we have seen since earlier in April. When we started April, were some of the better rates here. We were pushing up to 7.5 and then falling back down to about 7.25. So that was kind of where we were at with this stuff and kind of what you could expect to see from there. Probably not going to improve too much from here this week. We might see a little bit of pricing improvement, but there's really, like I said, we've got Treasury auctions and we've got the Fed speakers out there. Now, the Fed members, no one's going to come out and be like, oh yeah, we need to start cutting rates. They're not going to be dovish. They're not going to be making those kinds of statements. So we wouldn't want to expect that. We're not going to see those improvements. Randy said, what weapon do I carry? I don't run anymore. Listen, anything that you carry can take down a zombie a lot faster than they could take down a lion, my friend. So I would still be going with the zombie. Mike said, don't worry about higher rates today. It's a refi opportunity in the future. Lots of buy houses, date the rate comments out there, which is very helpful for us. It is. And there's definitely, rates are not coming down anytime soon, but we do have that CPI inflation data next Wednesday. And that's what we're kind of floating into, right? So I would be floating everything right now. In fact, let me go ahead and pop this on here. Float them. Here we go. So here's the deal. If it's closing in less than 15 days, we've got 10 days till the Fed meeting. Not Fed meeting, the CPI data. We've got 10 days, give or take, until that CPI data comes out. If it's closing, anything closing this week, of course, you're locking, right? Anything closing next week, you're probably locking at some point, but you don't have to rush to lock it today. Unless we see signs in mortgage-backed securities where we start to see these gains wash away and we see a reversal. If that happens, we want to be, very aware of that, ready for that. That would, of course, be a concern, but we have not seen that yet. That's something that we haven't had to worry about as long as we don't see that. But if we see mortgage-backed securities start to lose ground and you've got it closing the next couple of weeks, there's certainly no reason not to consider locking it. If we see this 10-year Treasury yield start to creep back up, we want to go ahead and consider locking anything closing near term. But anything that's got at least 15 to 30 plus days, we want to see how that inflation report comes in next week. We at least want to get closer and see what the forecast for that data is. Because if we see signs of inflation improving, then that will help. Now, remember, this giant red candlestick you see here, this was the kickoff to a bad day. This is what drove mortgage rates higher, also pushed market sentiment that we would only see 1 or maybe 2 rate cuts. And this was not a big miss on the CPI inflation report. It was not a big miss. It was only, remember, we talked about this. I've said it many, many times. We look at them in tenths, but it actually comes in hundredths, and rounding, it was 0.1 higher than for that core CPI than what was expected, 0.1. And when you look at the rounding, it could have come in right at expectation. This was a very big reaction. I don't think we have to worry about a negative reaction like this, as strong as this, to this CPI report, though. And I'll talk more as we get closer, but I don't think we have to worry about that. So if you want to know why, keep tuning in. I'll tell you as we get into some of the future shows. Otherwise, like I said, for today, I'd be floating them. It's going to be a fairly calm week. There's really no economic data. We've got some of the usual suspects, weekly jobless claims. Again, we're going to have a lot of Fed speakers, but I'm not worried about what they say. We're going to have the Treasury auctions, but I'm not too concerned about that. Ron pointed out that we are finally seeing the spread tightening between the 30-year rate and the 10-year Treasury. Finally seeing if we took the worst mortgage spreads last year, applied it today, mortgage rates would be a half a point higher. Will the tightening continue to bring us back to the 1.79 spread? We're currently at about 2.6. So that's a great question. Also, I was watching the YouTube video from Danielle DiMartino Booth, my friend. Let me pop this up. I started watching this. I have to watch it. Just came in the email a few minutes ago. Curious to see what she has to say on that. Thank you again for introducing me to her stuff. She's got awesome insight into this. So again, right now, current sentiment is that, everyone is thinking the Fed is going to cut. Rate hikes were pulled off the table last week for now. And that was the big concern, is that if we had concerns about rate hikes, if rate hikes were put on the possibility of being on the menu, we were going to see rates move higher. That did not happen. Thank goodness for that. Last week, it was very good for us that instead expectations of Fed rate cuts increasing and improving. That's going to help bring mortgage rates down. Not going to go down significantly, but they are moving down. All right, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. Remember to join me tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, as we do this each and every weekday with you. And always appreciate all of you that join me so often. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.